afternoon. My name is David Campbell, and today I'm here to talk to you about the most dynamic and powerful hyperconverged solution in the world, HPE SimpliVity. I'm going to start by framing when you would position SimpliVity with one of your end users. So SimpliVity is a hyperconverged solution designed to support virtual workloads, be it Hyper-V or VMware today, KVM later this year. And if that virtual workload is between 10 virtual machines all the way up to 2,000 virtual machines, and that virtual workload needs to be backed up and recovered at a second site, this is the most cost-effective solution in the space in the world. So let's jump in and find a bit more about hyperconvergence with HPE. I'm going to talk about what the challenges are that we try and focus on solving for end users. And firstly, we really do focus on IDC's report showing that 90% of our customers spend 90% of their time on just managing the legacy stack of IT infrastructure. So servers, storage, switches, backup software, backup disks, tape, replications, etc. It's consuming all their time, and they don't want to do that anymore. The other challenge that a lot of our clients are facing is ongoing costs. Costs to run virtual workloads are escalating. In particular, operational expense around those virtual workloads is becoming cumbersome. So we solve that issue for those clients. Lastly, availability and performance is becoming more and more important as the application gains credence in IT infrastructure. Performance of those apps is critical. And really overall, kind of tying into the first point we made, our clients are really looking to simplify. They don't really want to be tied down with their IT infrastructure, and they want to make it easy to manage so they can focus on their core business, which is driving revenues. So overall, we want to improve business outcomes for our customers, and I'm going to talk about specific business outcomes that this product delivers for our end users today throughout this presentation. Where I'm going to focus next is really on a report that was generated by Forrester analysts where they compared 4 different vertical markets where clients had deployed legacy IT infrastructures for virtual workloads, and then they compared those same 4 vertical markets where those clients had deployed SimpliVity for their virtual workloads. And the results were astounding. So the first result that came out of that report was that our clients generated 91% more time for them to innovate to the cloud. What that means is they were focused on driving value for their business and revenues versus just managing hardware. The next piece that came out of it is on every single SimpliVity customer that's deployed, clients are paying for their solution in less than a year. So that's 183% ROI. And really, if I ask the question of you in the room today, how many of you in your IT careers have deployed an IT solution that's paid for itself in less than a year? Ponder that for a second. This is powerful in terms of a business outcome that we deliver. The third point is that we deliver those savings and that ROI that I just discussed through OpEx, through operational savings. If you think about it, that's common sense. When today's legacy stack, you're paying for all the support contracts, support for VMware, support for servers, switches, storage, backup software, backup disk, backup tape, replication software, tape libraries, WAN optimization devices. Whereas with SimpliVity, it's one back to pat, one support contract. So the next point is that we have a guarantee. We actually have 5 guarantees. And as far as I'm aware, HPE is one of the only companies in the world that offers a warranty for SLAs with this product. So one of the key business outcomes that we deliver that is back is that we guarantee to back up a 1 terabyte machine in 60 seconds or less. But more importantly for a lot of our end users, the outcome that they're really interested in is recovery. Because if your business is on the line and you need to recover, well, we guarantee to recover a 1 terabyte machine in less than 60 seconds. And we have thousands and thousands of reference customers that have talked about how this outcome has really saved their bacon when disasters hit, and they're able to recover effortlessly through their same generalist VMware skill set running VMware. The last thing that I just kind of alluded to is, again, SimpliVity is managed with one simple interface that all of you already know how to use. So if it's VMware, it's vCenter, and if it's Hyper-V, it's System Center Virtual Machine Manager. So again, one generalist VM skill set runs all of your IT infrastructure below the hypervisor. So those points combine to really create a really powerful business outcome for our customers along the lines of density, resiliency, and performance. And to talk a bit about that, I'm going to explain how we differ, how we're different than the rest of the solutions in the world. So if you look at the screen right now, you see that this is what I would submit to you we're still competing with in the hyperconverged market. It's clients running status quo, the same old that they've always run for years, which is a legacy stack of hardware supporting a virtual workload. Together, let's count the GUIs. Let's count the support contracts. Let's count the skill sets, right? You've got VMware, you've got servers, you've got switches, you've got storage, you've got backup software, disk, tape libraries, replication software, WAN optimization devices to mitigate the cost of moving your workload from one site to another. Well, what's the industry tried to do to fix that? Well, you've seen us produce, as an industry in IT, a new way to converge storage and compute onto an x86 server footprint. What are examples of that? Nutanix, SpringPath, which is licensed by Cisco. You've got VxRail, vSAN. But again, when you purchase one of those solutions that converges compute and storage, what else do you need? Are you done? No, you're not, right? What else do you need? Well, you need backup software. You may already own it, but you still have an OpEx, a support cost annually for it. You need disk, tape libraries, replication software to move that workload from one site to another. And sometimes to mitigate that cost of moving that workload, you need WAN optimization devices such as Riverbed. So what's unique about HPE SimpliVity is that today we are the only hyper-converged solution in the world that truly converges not only compute and storage, but the entire rack of legacy equipment into a single DL380 server. Now, nobody that's technical at HPE will ever like you to deploy a production workload on a single anything. Why? Why is deploying on a single anything in production bad? Well, it's a single point, right? So we like to deploy an HA pair of SimpliVity devices for production workloads. And what that does is it gives you 5 nines of uptime, right? It gives you a dense footprint, and I would submit to you that we are the most dense solution in the world. Secondly, we give you far more resiliency in that dense footprint than any other solution in the hyperconverged space. And thirdly, we outperform any other solution in this space, and I'm going to talk to you about why next. So if we look at what I'm talking about in density, resiliency, and performance, you look at what we do. Really, we can scale up to 96 solutions or appliances, if you will, in one single federation. That's defined by clusters of high availability, like a VMware HA cluster. The cluster size can be up to 16 appliances in one HA cluster. Now that's a guideline, and we use it for a lot of our clients today. There are clusters we have it running in production that are much larger than that. So work with your HPE team to determine what's best for your client. We start as small as 10 virtual machines. We sell our product in t-shirt sizes from extra small, medium, large, extra large, and soon to be double extra large. So what that enables you as a client is to have a denser footprint to support all of your IT infrastructure, because you truly are collapsing every single piece of that legacy hardware into a single dense fabric, right? What that leads also to, and I'm going to go through this in more detail in the slides to follow, is resiliency. We make backup and recovery effortless. And let's be honest, backup and recovery is like the cleaning toilets of IT. It's a necessary evil that none of us really like to be focused on. But what we enable through our guarantee is to make that recovery and backup of your virtual workloads effortless, all managed through that one single interface, be it vCenter or System Center Virtual Machine Manager, backed with an industry-leading guarantee, an SLA, to take recovery time down from days to literally minutes by right-clicking and restoring. That's our policy, right? So I will talk to you about more about how we've architected this solution. Our code is architected with a fanatical approach to protecting our clients' data. And I'm going to show you how we actually have doubled the resiliency of any legacy IT solution today that we're competing with. And lastly, performance. In every single SimpliVity deployment globally, we've improved application performance for our customers. Can't say it any more bluntly than that. And I'm going to talk about the 2 ways that we do improve performance in our SimpliVity DL380 solution, as well as in our 2600 SimpliVity solution, which is a software-only version of SimpliVity. So let's get into the details about density, resiliency, performance. The 5 real key differentiators about SimpliVity are as follows. If you look at the SimpliVity DL380, we do improve performance because we do inline dedupe and compression at the point of ingestion. Why do your clients care? Well, they care because that removes 2/3 of the I/O before it even touches storage. So if you think about removing I/O before it goes to storage, what's the result to your application's performance?
Faster.
It's a lot faster. We improve performance in every single deployment of our SimpliVity solution because of inline deduping compression. Now, the big guarantee that we use with inline deduping compression, our data efficiency, if you will, is that when you put your primary and your backup software onto a SimpliVity solution, we guarantee to save you 90% of your storage capacity. So I can see the consternation in the faces of the audience. What's the gotcha? Are our algorithms for deduping compression any different than anybody else's? No. On the first pass of your raw data, we're probably going to get 2, maybe 3 to 1. But what happens when you back that data up? Well, today, you're paying an I/O performance hit for every single backup you do because you got to rehydrate off your traditional SAN and then dedupe it again and then write it to new storage media. With SimpliVity, that's all gone. So once we've stored an 8K block of data, we will never store that block of data again. And that's revolutionary. And that's what enables us to deliver a guaranteed 10 to 1 dedupe compression ratio. Now, anybody here want to play the game of Price is Right rules? What's our average dedupe and compression? I'm going to undersell and over deliver, and that's why I love representing this product. We guarantee 10 to 1. Anybody here in the room want to guess what our actual delivery is? Throw me out a guess.
25.
25 to 1. Okay. So we actually deliver 52 to 1 on average across the world. So with SimpliVity customers, we guarantee to save you 90% of your capacity at 10 to 1 dedupe compression. The math magicians in the room, how much storage am I saving if I actually deliver 52 to 1? Well, it's a lot. And what that means is SimpliVity customers don't run out of storage, right? So that's our first guarantee that we talk about. You've already heard me talk about our next one, which is the ability to have enterprise class dedupe and compression is awesome, but also enterprise class data protection built in with every single one of our appliances, be it an extra small all the way up to a double extra large. So we actually guarantee with our enterprise class data protection to back up a 1 terabyte machine in 60 seconds or less. Again, we undersell and over deliver on that. And we, more importantly, I think for the business outcome of recovery, we guarantee to recover a 1 terabyte machine in 60 seconds or less. And I like to tell stories to reinforce these. So I'm going to tell a quick story about a large multinational auto parts manufacturer that called me a couple months ago and said, Dave, I wanted to call you today because our line where we make all of our money was running on a 750 gig SQL virtual machine, and that VM crashed today. Had we been in our legacy IT infrastructure solution, I won't name the name, I would have been fired. Plain and simple, I would not have been able to recover, and I would have been fired today. Thanks to SimpliVity, we were able to recover that 750 gig SQL VM in 12 seconds. And I'm calling today to say thank you. Wow. And if you have any customer that ever doubts your efficiency in terms of giving a business outcome for a business like ours to recover effortlessly, I want you to have them call me. And we have over 6,000 SimpliVity Insider customers willing to talk to our prospects about the outcomes that they are generating. And I want you to pause and think for a minute about what would it take for you as an end user to have an outcome like that, for you to be willing to take time out of your busy day to talk to any other prospects. It's pretty powerful. And our customers are passionate as heck about the results that we deliver for them. So I mentioned 5 things that really define the solution. I've only talked about 2. I know you're excited to get to the next 3, so let's keep going. Again, we talk about improving app speed, right? So the first 2 things that we do is we improve app speed by having an inline dedupe and compression solution that removes I/O before it gets to storage. What's the second way we improve performance? Well, in the DL380 solution that you see on the screen in front of you, we actually have an offload accelerator card. And that offload accelerator card, what it does is it offloads a lot of the functionality that happens traditionally on the CPU. Why do you care? Well, you care because that means your application now has full ability to use the CPU. It's not fighting for resources. Whereas any other competitor in this hyperconverged space, every time they do an I/O, they're using CPU. That means that the app doesn't have access to that CPU. So it's another way than our DL380 solution with an offload accelerator card, we improve application performance. Together with our inline dedupe and compression, the results are impressive. Lastly, we'll talk about this is only the 4th point. We will talk about our global unified interface, which is, in the case of VMware, vCenter, So there is no training, there's no learning curve. If you know how to run VMware and vCenter today, you know how to run SimpliVity. We're simply a plug into it. Again, I cannot highlight the value this brings as a business outcome. Today, it's getting harder and harder for businesses to pay the salaries of highly skilled IT professionals for some of the key pieces of that legacy hardware stack. With SimpliVity, that goes away. You now are managing all of your IT infrastructure with a generalist VMware skill set that you already know how to run. What that means is a lot of our customers are taking their highly skilled people and focusing them on orchestration or automation projects to drive more value and more revenue for their business. Really, really powerful business outcome. The last point is truly unique. And I'm going to ask a question of you here in the audience. So for your virtual workloads you're running today, what do you run out of first? RAM or storage? I'm just curious. I always like to poll the audience. What do you guys run out of first? RAM. Okay. So we offer 3 flexible ways to augment RAM in SimpliVity. You can add more RAM to the DL380 server, most secure, most popular server in the world. Or what if we asked you if you had another server that you could repurpose? Could be a blade, could be a rack mount server, could be from any vendor in the space, could be Dell, could be Cisco, could be somebody else. We don't care. What do I mean? Well, that means that you can take that server that you already own and leverage that asset and connect it for free via NFS to a SimpliVity device and effectively augment the RAM and compute available to your SimpliVity environment. You still get the deduping compression, the 10-to-1 guarantee. You still get the 60-second or less backup and recovery, but you've augmented your RAM and compute without investing anything. The third way is, again, you don't have to buy another SimpliVity appliance to augment RAM. Maybe you don't have a server that you can repurpose. So maybe it's more cost effective to just buy one of our rack mount DL360s and connect that for free. So I like to tell examples of where this has happened. We just did a large RFP response for a 1,300 seat Citrix VDI RFP. Our partner, who knew the client very well, knew that they had a blade infrastructure that they just purchased 8 months ago that was over provisioned and they could probably use it. RFP response, we just asked a simple question if we could use their existing blade architecture as part of our configuration in the response. The answer was sure, but why? And we said, hey, this is how our configuration is going to work. We're going to leverage your existing blade, connect it via NFS to our SimpliVity configuration. Our solution was 1/3 the cost of anybody else responding. Our partner's very happy because we won that deal. The client's very happy because they leveraged an asset they already owned. So that's a big game changer that no one else in the hyperconverged space has offered. Not only can we augment RAM and compute, but we're just about to announce the ability to augment storage in the field too. So you have maximum flexibility with SimpliVity. Moving on. I want to set the table together with you today. Again, I cannot emphasize this point enough. Traditionally, when I'm in front of customers, I continue to hear there's a perception in the marketplace that SimpliVity is expensive. And I say, that's not the case. This is the most cost-effective solution in the world for workloads that are virtual between 10 and 2,000 VMs. Look at the screen and understand with me why that happens. If you purchase another hyperconverged competitive solution, you are not done. You have operational cost and CapEx for backup media, being tape, disk, tape libraries. You need to own and purchase backup software. You also need to own and purchase a replication software solution, be it Zerto, VMware SRM, et cetera, And lastly, a lot of our customers additionally do require a WAN optimization solution to mitigate the cost of moving their data. When you add up the OpEx of all of those solutions, even forgetting CapEx, we consistently pay for ourselves in less than a year and are far more cost effective than any other solution in the world. If you want to understand how that would work for your specific workload, we have a TCO calculator that any of the HPE sellers and any of our partners that are SimpliVity certified can deliver collaboratively with you for you to look at a customized version of what your ROI will be on SimpliVity. I urge you to take that action. I'm going to talk a bit more about density, resiliency, performance here in terms of comparing what you would do today, right? So this is on the screen, you see how you would architect a legacy solution for virtual workloads. You have 4 VMware hosts. You have a dual controller storage array, and that dual controller storage array also has RAID. Why do we have RAID today, guys? Anybody know? Because hard drives fail?
Yeah, disks
right?
fail.
Let's not be ostriches and bury our head in the sands. Let's architect our solutions with the realities of IT. Have any of you here in the room just seen one hard drive fail? Ever? When
Yes,
one hard drive fails,
absolutely.
that's it? Just one fails?
Oh, I've seen multiple.
Usually when you see one fail, what happens?
Same lot fail.
Yeah, the same lot of disks, you start to see other things fail. So when we have RAID in that instance, so that when they start to fail, we can rebuild them, right? To give ourselves some more redundancy. I make that point because it's pretty critical to the SimpliVity play. So again, in a legacy solution, you've got 4 hosts, a dual controller SAN, and with that best practice of backup, we have 3 copies of our backup data. We have 1 copy of prod on-prem, we have 1 copy of backup on-prem, and a 3rd copy of our data off-site. Right? That's our best practice today. And we feel pretty safe and secure with this legacy architecture. So how would SimpliVity architect the solution? Well, we would replace the 4 hosts with SimpliVity DL380s. And what that means is that, like common to all hyperconverged vendors, we're going to take the storage controller and we're going to make it a virtual machine. So you can see now I have a storage controller in each one of the SimpliVity DL380 appliances. So that means gone is the complexity of managing SAN. I'm not juggling LUNs, volumes, aggregates. I'm not trying to match up my support contracts for my extension shelves to my existing storage controllers. It's a constant juggling act, right? So that's gone. But look what happens now with SimpliVity, and this is unique. Again, remember I said we're fanatical about protecting our clients' data? So our code was custom built. The software that runs on SimpliVity was custom built from the ground up to support the virtual environments that are mixed today. And you see at the top of the screen here, I actually have 2 copies of every virtual machine's data. So I have double the number of production copies of data. And by VM-centric policy-based backup, I have 2 copies of every backup data. How many did you have in your legacy? You had 1 of prod and 1 of backup.
Right.
I've got double. So I've got double the resiliency of any legacy solution, right? And often what our clients are finding is that they can further reduce CapEx, OpEx into a far more dense footprint, an HA pair, and provide a doubling in resiliency and outperform their existing legacy solution dramatically. Again, we talked about how we improve performance with our inline decompression, our offload accelerator card. So how do we meet that offsite compliance requirement? Well, then you add a 3rd SimpliVity appliance somewhere else. Could be at a colo, could be at another one of the sites that your company owns. And now you see on the screen, I have a 3rd copy of production data at that 3rd node and a 3rd copy of backup data. So again, the best policy practice today in legacy IT infrastructure is to have 3 copies of your data, 2 on-prem and 1 off-prem. How many do we have? We've got 6 copies of data, 4 on-prem and 2 off-prem. Double the resiliency of any legacy solution you have. Again, 5 nines of uptime in that HA pair on site number 1. And again, what we enable, guys, is a 3rd guarantee. And our 3rd guarantee is that you can back up, move, clone, or restore a virtual machine in a SimpliVity environment with 3 simple clicks. I'm going to talk about that VM mobility a bit more when I explain this scenario. In this scenario here, we have lots of customers that do data migration. Now, oftentimes when you're doing mergers and acquisitions, data migration becomes massive priority because you're worried about IP leaking out of your company that you've acquired before it actually is ingested. So we had a recent scenario where the company, let's call it site number 2, had 50 terabytes of data and a 10 meg pipe connecting back to headquarters. And they needed to migrate all those 50 terabytes ASAP. It was a huge priority for them. So how do we do it? We put a SimpliVity device at site number 2, and we migrated all 50 terabytes of data over that 10 meg pipe in 7 hours with 7 minutes of downtime. There's not another technology in the world that can enable you to do that. How did we do it? Did we move all 50 terabytes of data? Oh. What the machines did was talk to one another. In every SimpliVity environment, the machines are globally deduped and compressed, aware of one another. And they said, hey, I'm running Windows 2012 R2. You are too? Don't send me any of those blocks of data. Just send me the deltas at an 8K block level over that 10 meg pipe. And that's how we were able to migrate 50 terabytes of data over a 10 meg pipe in 7 hours with 7 minutes of downtime. So again, you can see that backup and recovery becomes effortless with a SimpliVity environment. A lot of times, site number 2 becomes a QA test dev, a non-prod environment for our clients, in addition to being the DR environment. So not only do you have effortless DR, you now have the ability to clone a virtual machine from production, put it at your site number 2, and do a QA test dev environment 40% quicker than you can do it today. And then you move that updated virtual machine back into production, and you only pay the price of the delta at the 8K block level for storage. No hit to WAN, no hit to application performance, and a massive improvements in efficiency. So there's a couple use cases right off the bat. You can see that you can put an active environment here in SimpliVity. You can create simple DR backup strategies as you scale across multiple sites. You can have a hub and spoke topology, you have a mesh topology. You can have remote sites, branch offices, single node deployments for some of them with the peace of mind of multiple ways to recover your workloads at many different sites. Again, a lot of our partners, what they sell to their end users is weekends. Right? I like that statement. I sell to my customers weekends. They get their weekends back, right? So again, density, resiliency, performance, you see how we deliver it. One other point I'll make about our effortless backup and recovery is we do have a feature called Rapid DR. It's like VMware's SRM, but a lighter version. And what it does is it enables you, in the case of a disaster, to hit a button. And what happens is you set a priority sequence of which VM comes up in which order at the DR site. And as it comes up, it is re-IP'd automatically. We have a lot of clients that use this to meet their compliance audits requirements. So fabulous tool at a fraction of the cost of anything else in the marketplace, and a great way to automate DR. Again, I'm going to talk about one other piece that we've just added to our family, which is the purchase of a company called Plexi. We have renamed it Composable Fabric, because you see in the past today, you had silos of infrastructure. As we just talked about, the legacy infrastructure is tied to a static, really fixed architecture for networking. So we've solved the IT infrastructure silo game with SimpliVity. That often is still tied to a legacy, antiquated, old, static, not agile network environment. And with the purchase of Plexi, we now have a composable fabric. So not only do we have a software-defined solution for the data center, we have a software-defined solution for the network, which really does streamline and enable you to have the agility that you're requiring for today's world. So think about that. I'll give you a couple quick examples, and then I want to finish with our hyper guarantee. These are a couple of customers of ours that have massively improved performance. Red Bull is a racing team in the F1 circuit. Over 200 sensors in the steering wheel alone, capturing all that data real time, processing it, and providing value back to the driver is how these guys make their teams win. In addition to that, the amount of equipment they had before deploying SimpliVity was huge because of all those legacy pieces of equipment. Cost of shipping alone was $400,000 a year for all that equipment. So not only have we improved their OpEx and their performance, we've also saved them a ton of money and paid for ourselves in about 7 months with that solution. Altera is another company that we reduced their complexity dramatically, paid for ourselves in about 9.7 months, and they had 9 sites that had about 7 racks. They've gone down to 1. It's in each of those 9 sites, dramatic savings in power and cooling as well. And they're getting about a 99% data efficiency. So again, representing the SimpliVity solution enables you as a partner to undersell and over-deliver on every promise you make to customer. Think about the relationships you can generate with that kind of commitment, right? So lots of customer references. I urge you to look for them up because they're powerful. Over 6,000 SimpliVity insiders. I'll finish with the 5 hyper guarantees from SimpliVity. Again, we've talked about the first one. When you put your primary and your backup data on SimpliVity, we guarantee to save you 90% of your storage capacity. The second one is that we guarantee to back up a 1 terabyte machine and recover a 1 terabyte machine in less than a minute. You will undersell and over-deliver on that promise consistently to your customers. 3 clicks to back up, clone, restore, or move a VM. And lastly, you can update thousands of virtual machine policies through that interface, that single GUI, in less than a minute. And again, you can add or replace the SimpliVity environment from a SimpliVity federation with no downtime guaranteed. So with that, I will end by re-emphasizing to you, creating an annuity business for yourself as a partner with SimpliVity means that you basically are putting a solution into your client's data center, and there is no budget for any of your competitors to get into that data center because now you own servers, storage, backup software, backup disk, backup tape, backup libraries, WAN optimization, replication, DR. Where's the room for any of your competitors to get into that data center? It is the most cost-effective solution for virtual workloads between 10 and 2,000 virtual machines that need to be backed up and recovered. I encourage you to take advantage of your HPE team to help you go and proselytize, evangelize these great business outcomes we generate for our customers. Thank you.